I'm Robert McBride of All Classical Portland, and as soon as he gets here, this will be Carlos Kalmar, the music director of the Oregon Symphony. Carlos is at a reception at the moment, so I thought rather than just wait for him backstage, I would come out and wait for him with you. Anybody here a fan of SpongeBob SquarePants? Wow, got a hand. Ah, another hand over there. Interesting. Well, I've never seen that cartoon show except one little tiny bit. But somebody told me today that the characters are modeled after the seven deadly sins. Maybe not Bob himself, who's an upstanding sponge, but the people around him personify sloth and greed and lust and envy and all that stuff. I was sort of happy to be told that today, since we'll be talking about The Seven Deadly Sins by Kurt Weill, which is on tonight's concert. Anybody here before when they played this a few years ago? I didn't even know that they had done it. I don't know how that totally went by me, but Carlos had prepared in the rehearsals, and then he got really sick and was unable to conduct. And Gregory Voida, who was so wonderful here as the resident conductor, stepped in and did a great job, I'm told, and I believe that's true. And so Carlos has been eager to do it again and not get sick. Gosh, I hope that's not what's happened tonight. And then Storm Large, the larger-than-life Portland singer, author, playwright, you name it, doing Kurt Weill for the first time. People have been telling her for years that she should be singing some Kurt Weill songs, and it's finally going to happen. Not her first appearance with the Oregon Symphony, not her first time in this room, certainly, but her first time doing something this big with the orchestra. Ladies and gentlemen, Carlos Kalmar.
Hi, sorry to be late.
It's okay.
Hi, Robert.
Good to see you. How was the reception?
Was nice, and I left as soon as Storm entered the room, because when Storm enters the room, who cares?
Yeah.
I mean, all the boys are like, okay, never mind.
And you can slip out and nobody even notices that you're leaving. Yeah.
That's what I did.
She's a big talent, that girl. So last night, Storm Large, the Oregon Symphony, Carlos Kalmar, you all trekked up to Seattle yesterday, and you performed this concert in Benaroya Hall, the home of the Seattle Symphony. How'd it go?
Interesting. It's just so different. It's such a different hall, and I mean, nobody will be offended if I say it's the better hall. It's simply the truth, because it's a concert hall that was built as a concert hall. And
this was built to be a movie theater.
This is a movie theater. I can't even imagine how
I know, isn't that
I mean,
strange?
this is kind of a little big. It's very big for a movie theater.
They don't make them like they used to, Carlos.
Yeah. But I mean, this is a great movie theater. No, this is a good concert hall. But if you build something with the idea in mind, this is going to be a concert hall, and you don't have to adapt it. Advantages are on your side. And actually, Benaroya is famous in this country for being one of the best halls here. And I mean, it's interesting. It's interesting. The most important thing for us, of course, is Benaroya Hall is what you call a live hall, which means that the sound projection that comes from the orchestra is really out there. Whereas in this hall, we play an enormous range of dynamics, the Oregon Symphony, enormous. But we really have to go.
You have to work at it.
We have to work to get the sound out.
Yeah.
And there you don't, I mean, you still work, but the range is just bigger, and the little nuances that we do, probably you can hear them better.
So Benaroya would be closer to Carnegie Hall in that way?
Well, Benaroya is a younger hall. Carnegie is not such a new hall. Benaroya is, I don't know how old Benaroya is, 25 years or something like that. I don't know, I'm bad in history. but probably that's what it is.
Yeah.
And it was a very interesting, that's why I always say interesting.
That's a useful word, isn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think it went well.
Non-committal is a useful word too, actually.
Yeah.
And the Seattle Symphony will be coming down here to play in this room in the fall? I don't remember when.
In the spring next year,
Spring
they are
next year.
bringing their program for Spring for Music, with which they later go to Carnegie Hall on their trip. And I urge you already to come to that concert. It's very interesting what they are bringing. Very different. And the one thing that I have to well, now you are here, you cannot get out. We play one more piece here. Because
That's true.
Our Seattle friends said, don't play that piece in Seattle. It will not sell tickets. And I said, I don't like that, but okay. Yeah. But here we play that piece that doesn't sell tickets. We play that here.
That would be the piece by Arnold Schoenberg. That's the first thing on the second half
Yes.
of the concert. Okay, so we start with a piece that the orchestra played, what, 5 years ago or something?
Something like that.
Yeah. Phenomenon by a phenomenally talented young Thai composer. You say his name better than I do.
Narong Prangcharoen.
Cool name, Narong Prangcharoen.
Yeah, sounds great.
He's a really, really nice man and really talented composer.
Yeah.
And this piece is very bright and very colorful, very energetic. He's often inspired by nature, and that's part of what's going on in Phenomenon.
Well, Phenomenon actually is, I don't, because I was late, I apologize again, but I don't know whether you said what kind of ties the program and how
That's your job.
Oh. So if you can, this program was actually, that you're going to hear, is the program with which the Oregon Symphony would have gone for the second time in history to Carnegie Hall in 5 days or so, 4 days. Unfortunately, due to the financial situation in which we decided not to go, and so that part is history. But the program is still so you're going to enjoy the Carnegie program. And if you all remember that we once went to Carnegie in 2011, and we were a sensation, meaning the Oregon Symphony got internationally acclaimed for the way they played, and the program mainly also got praised everywhere. At that time, we built a program that was kind of somehow uniform, in the sense there was one theme, which was war. So this time, when we sat down and I started to think about what can we do, of course I went in a very different direction, because you cannot repeat what we did last time. Because if I even go and say, okay, this time it will be music for a time of spring or for a time of love, everybody will say, yeah, it was cool, but last time it was really good. And I didn't want to go there. So let's go in a very different direction. We constructed a program that at first sight looks like, and they are playing what together? Because you don't see things that tie the program together. There are actually two. One is energy, which is just a characterization for something you're going to hear. There are 3 pieces in this program, the first, the third, and the last, which are high energy pieces, meaning the Prangcharoen, the Schoenberg, and Ravel. And the interesting thing about that is how the energy flows in each one of them, because it's very, very different how the approach of the composers is to the idea of energy. And the other idea that ties the program together is death, with the exception of the first piece. Premonitions has nothing to do with death. And the other pieces have only one has literally something to do with death. Everything else, I'm just telling you because well, since I designed this program, I have to make something up, right? Okay, there is the 7 deadly sins, which is very obvious. The Schoenberg piece, accompaniment for a cinematographic scene, is actually doesn't speak about death per se, but it speaks about fear, tragedy, catastrophe, all of that. So guess what? Probably not so far away. The Schubert, in terms of speaking about death, is actually the toughest sell, because my idea for the Schubert is that when sometimes in history, and Schubert is one composer where that comes to mind, you hear a piece and it's so incredibly beautiful, and on top of that, what may have been written towards the end of the life of the composer, that you think the composer is already in the afterlife and still is writing, and that is what comes out. And we all probably know that Schubert's Unfinished is so incredibly beautiful that I thought, well, if the idea is death, Schubert's Unfinished is right there, because it puts you in the mood of the afterlife, if you will. And from that Schubert, we segue, no applause, into Ravel's La Valse, which is a waltz that Ravel wrote to honor Johann Strauss, the king of waltzes, undoubtedly. And what Ravel, during this composition, I wouldn't say he changed his mind in terms of what he wanted to write, but in the end, this is a piece that depicts a little bit the dying ballroom society in Vienna. And since Viennese are always in love with the idea of death, that's why Sigmund Freud had to live there. It's kind of like you dance until you die, and at the end you die. And so that is how the programs are tied together.
I really like this program for a bunch of reasons. One, it has a lot of sonic variety, and I always enjoy that. And the phenomenon and La Valse are actually really nice bookends. You could segue between those two, and it would work really well. And these thematic ideas that are not apparent at first glance, that then you tell us about, and then it gives us another way of hearing it and thinking about it, which is fun. And then there's Storm Large. So you're puzzling.
Yeah, I thought, like, don't give me ideas about segueing from one piece in the other. I do that anyway, more than many.
Yeah. But it can work so nicely.
The thing is, it gives everything a different, it's all about context. I thought for a while whether we should segue the entire second half. But no, leave it where it is. It's good.
Yeah. I've never heard that Schoenberg piece, so I'm looking forward to. How long is it?
It's 9 minutes.
Okay.
It's 9 minutes. The thing with the Schoenberg is, it's kind of hard to sell Schoenberg, because unless you play Verklärte Nacht, how do you say that in
Transfigured Night.
Transfigured Night, which is a piece that he wrote earlier than all his modernist things, meaning it's incredibly beautiful late romantic music. Everything is in this 12-tone technique.
Including this?
Including this one. And this is, it's kind of very, if you wish, brainiac music. It's highly intellectual. And, you know, I tell you two stories that illustrate this so well. Or, well, one is a story, one is a quote. Arnold Schoenberg, who was Jewish and of course had to leave his country, went to America and through many friends got in contact with Hollywood. And you have to, I mean, it's very clear when somebody leaves Europe, he has, Schoenberg didn't have anything, no money, nothing. And so going to Hollywood and finally meeting the boss of probably Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer was the biggest deal, because it could have happened that Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer would have said, okay, write us a film music for such and such. The story, which might not even be true, but I've heard it many times, was that the boss of Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer greeted Schoenberg by saying, "Oh, Mr. Schoenberg, I'm such an admirer of your lovely music." Schoenberg said, "My music isn't lovely," and left. End of the career of Arnold Schoenberg in Hollywood. And the other thing that also, I mean, yeah, you can debate this phrase, is Schoenberg always said, if it's art, it's not for everybody. If it's for everybody, it's not art. Ah, boy.
Interesting.
Interesting, and of course you think like, come on. I mean, I object strongly because speaking music, are you going to tell me that Beethoven is not for everybody?
Good point.
Come on.
Yeah, Schoenberg was his own worst enemy in many ways.
Yeah, I mean, that's what he said. And the music itself that you're going to hear, it's not the prettiest music you are going to hear on this concert.
But you can imagine a movie, right? You can imagine
if you
whatever.
Want, if you want, the thing that really gets me with this piece, where I think this is actually very good music, is it's very intense. It's very short-lived, very intense. It grips you, and I don't know whether you can follow a storyline, because the truth is, it is accompanied to a cinematographic scene, and the cinematographic scene doesn't even exist. There is none. So please don't go home and Google it and say, okay, which? I want to see the movie. There is no movie. He just wrote it.
We have to talk about Kurt Weill,
Oh, yeah.
Seven Deadly Sins, another German composer who had to leave Germany in the 1930s, and that's when this piece was written. He wrote it in Paris. Bertolt Brecht wrote the text, and Weill wrote the music, their last collaboration together. Lotte Lenya, Weill's wife, twice sang Anna in the first performance, and we have Storm Large doing it tonight. And the music, somebody called Kurt Weill the poor man's Verdi, which he took as a compliment. He said, that's exactly what I would like to be. I want my art to be for everyone. And I love the fact that his music is so direct. It is so accessible. It's so easy to understand what he's doing, and yet it is so continually reinventing itself and so creative. I kind of compare him to Wagner. They're very different. They're incredibly different, but they both will use specific themes to represent specific ideas and do it so well. This is just knock your socks off charming.
The thing with Weill is, Weill as a composer is kind of two-sided. On one side, everything, all the pieces that you wrote that relate to America in some way, he wrote so many musicals or that genre, and he was incredible.
He wrote Mac the Knife, after all.
Yeah, and then he wrote then on top of that he wrote things together with the great Bertolt Brecht, which were very political. Three-penny opera, of course, is their big thing. And on top of that, he wrote just serious music. When I was way younger, I conducted his second symphony and the violin concerto, and it's all really good music, really well done, and it doesn't sound like the Seven Deadly Sins at all. Now, the Seven Deadly Sins is, they wanted, or mainly Weill had this idea of putting together something that works like a medieval morality tale. And there are the Seven Deadly Sins, and it's written like a journey. So this little girl, Anna, departs from Louisiana with her sister, because she constantly talks. She describes what happens, and she says, "Is that so, Anna?" And the other Anna says, "Yes, it is so." And the reason for that is that in its original, this is a ballet, and Anna 1 is a singer, Anna 2 is a dancer. But regardless, Anna 1 and 2 are actually the same person. And she goes on this journey with the purpose of getting money, because she wants to build a little house in Louisiana for her family. And so she goes on a journey through several cities in America, and in each city she commits, or she encounters, a deadly sin. And she is part of this deadly sin, and after 7 years she comes back and she has the money. And that's why it's a morality tale, because in a way what this piece tells all of us is there are 7 deadly sins, but if you use them really wisely, you are going to get somewhere. And the fascinating thing is, that's why I mentioned that Weill and Brecht together wrote political things. Bertolt Brecht, amazing writer, of course, left of the spectrum, quite left in his way of thinking. And Brecht was not so happy about this piece, the 7 deadly sins. He thought, it's okay, but not. And I think the reason is because this is more based on the morality rather than the politics. And the music that Weill wrote was also probably to Brecht's taste a little too mellow. And there is one place in this piece that I always find fascinating, where that is the place where Brecht must have been very happy. Because every sin is described either by Anna, Storm, or by the 4 singers who also work as commentaries. And then the last sin, because she goes back, ends up in a march. And that sounds like politics. When she starts singing that march about sisters, we together, and all this, wow, that's the old Brecht.
And the 4 men who represent the family waiting back home to get the money to build the house and also function as a kind of Greek chorus, they warn her about certain sins, or they encourage her to commit certain sins in order to make more money. And some of the most delightful music in this is written for them. And they must just have a blast doing it. It's so fun.
This piece, which is difficult for the singers, because it requires from the lead singer real presence. I mean, Storm Large, of course, she carries.
Mission accomplished right there.
Yeah. And the 4 male characters, or 4 male singers, it's not easy to sing, but it's very rewarding. They are busy, so it's fun.
This is going to be so much fun. Thank you for doing this. Again, I did tell them the story about you getting sick when you wanted to do this last time.
I was so angry with myself.
Yeah.
But it happens.
So let's talk about sins and you. I told you when we talked about this before that my personal...
I think
Are we out of time, Carlos?
No, I don't think we have enough time to talk.
My personal favorite is sloth. But what would you say, though I've often been guilty of envy, certainly. So what sin is most representative of you, or vice versa?
I would say on our day and age, it's gluttony. Oh, if you would let me... Or if I would let me...
or if you know who would let you.
If the lady backstage, if she would let me, but she takes good care of me.
Yeah, women can be great that way, can't they?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
And not only that way.
Yeah. Oh, you were on Oregon Art Beat.
I was.
Thursday night, and you're going to have a longer presence on that show, I guess, in the fall?
In October, yes.
In October, okay.
Yeah.
So note that. That'll be fun to see. Okay, before we get any deeper into sins and ourselves, I think we really are out of time. But I do want to let you know that there's a big table full of recordings in the lobby as usual. Oregon Symphony recordings, Carlos Kalmar recordings, Storm Large recordings. There's a big pile of her book, copies of her book there too, which I haven't read yet. I must do that. This is going to be so much fun tonight. Thank you for coming. Thank you, Carlos Kalmar, for creating such an amazing program. Carlos Kalmar.
Robert McBride.
Thanks.